Space Action Podcast with your hosts, Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I am Chris Carson. Hey, where's DC? Where the fuck?
DC's not here, man.
Who the hell are you? So, to our regular listeners, we've been promising you guys Stranger Things for a while, and we will get to it, but DC is off on vacay. So in the meantime, I am joined by special guest Samantha Saxena again.
Hello.
From our last time you were on it, we did Battlestar Galactica.
We sure did.
And so what are we doing this time?
We are doing Jim Henson's The Storyteller.
Cue clip.
No soul returns from my kingdom.
Love is stronger than death.
Nothing is stronger than death, little musician. Fear me. I am the bored audience at the theater. A knock at the door when you least expect it. I am the one whose name must not be spoken for fear I hear it and sit next to you. I am the pain in your arm at 4 a.m, the headache that will not shift. The sour taste in your mouth of everything you ever did. I am waiting, little musician, and one day I shall come for you also. Then you will see your wife once more.
So, you've never seen The Storyteller before?
No, I actually hadn't even heard of it, to be honest with you.
Didn't even know what it was?
Didn't even know it existed.
I watched it when I was a kid, and the episode about death scared the hell out of me as a tiny little kid. Mm-hmm. And I vaguely remember the rest. And then it came out on DVD in like 2003, and I rushed out and bought it and watched the hell out of it in 2003.
So if it scared the hell out of you when you were a kid, why did you run to go buy it when it came out on DVD?
Because I remember it was fantastic, but I just remembered it scared the shit out of me. And then when it came out on DVD, I was in my 20s. I was like, I want to revisit this thing. It's a kid's show. Clearly, it won't scare me as an adult, and it doesn't. It's a little unsettling, though, that death thing.
I found it very dark, the entire series.
It's super dark.
Yeah, it's not your Disney fairy tale,
well,
I guess you could say.
For people who don't know what Storyteller is, briefly, it is Jim Henson produced, Jim Henson Company, retelling of fairy tales from Germany and like Greece, like the old Brothers Grimm fairy tales.
Yeah.
And hosted by John Hurt in crazy makeup. And apparently, as the story goes, Jim Henson wanted a puppet host, but then one of the production designers said, hey, we can make a person look like a puppet, and we'll get a better performance out of it for the host of the titled Storyteller character. And then they got John Hurt. And then the dog, voiced by Brian Henson.
And that's his kid? Brian Henson is his kid? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who is, and if in some weird twist of fate, Brian Henson ever ends up listening to this, I apologize, but his not nearly as talented kid in terms of voice acting, because I don't think he's as good of a voice actor as his father was.
So he says this now, but for the past week, he's been doing the dog voice.
But the dog voice is adorable. But when he took over for Kermit after Jim Henson died, Kermit sounded so bad.
Gotcha.
Like he's I don't think he has the range. And I think he gave up on Kermit when Disney bought the Muppets, and now it's just
I don't blame him.
Who the fuck ever.
Yeah.
The first season is 9 episodes where they retell like Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, but it's based on the original fairy tale, so they're completely different. But there's the seed of like what Disney did with them.
Yeah, I guess that's
later on.
Yeah.
And then season 2 was Michael Gambon, Dumbledore 2. Was the host. He was the new storyteller set in like ancient Greece, telling 4 Greek mythology stories, which is like the Minotaur, Icarus and his wax wings. Mm-hmm. What the hell were the other 2? We just watched them.
Odysseus.
And
his lady friend. I don't remember her name.
Who it's the whole that that biblical family leaving the burning city of like Sodom or Gomorrah. If they looked back, they turned to salt. Clearly, there was a point of origin for both those stories, because it was him going to the underworld. Mm-hmm. And if he looked back at his dead wife, she'd get pulled back into the underworld, and then he looks back and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And pulled back.
And then there was Theseus and the Minotaur.
And the
Minotaur.
Meanie Minotaur.
I don't know how you say it. Is it Minotaur or Minotaur?
I'm going to guess it's sort of like potato.
Ah.
Minotaur, Minotaur, Monotaur.
Monitor?
Monitor.
Yeah. You're just making shit up now.
I am totally making shit up. But let's start with season 1.
Yeah.
So season 1 was the John Hurt fairy tale.
So season 1, definitely my favorite of the 2 seasons. And I think that...
A lot more Muppets.
Yeah. I
Way
think that
more.
was it. And season 1, it was still a little bit dark for a child, I think.
It was fucking
I can't imagine
horrifying.
me sitting there as a kid and watching half of the stuff that I watched. But it was a lot more consumable just because there were Muppets. And that dog, God love that dog. I really, really enjoy the dog.
That dog makes me want to get that type of dog, which I looked it up and I've already forgotten the name.
Some kind of German pointer.
It's like a Dubersnoodle. It has a really funny name.
Poodle and a pointer mixed together?
Yeah, what was it? It was like a Poidle pointer or something.
Something like that.
Puddle pointer or something.
Yeah.
They're the cutest dogs ever. Just look up the dog from the Storyteller and what breed it was.
It's a little scrappy looking, kind of.
And he talks like this. And I thought in the first few episodes his voice sounded different, we noticed, but it was Brian Henson.
It was, yeah.
The
I
whole
think he was
time.
just refining the dog voice.
The
if you
voice.
will. Yeah.
And apparently that dog came back one other time, because this was a BBC show.
Oh, was
The
it?
Storyteller.
Oh, okay.
And it aired in America under the Jim Henson Hour, if you remember that weird, like, semi-variety show that he had. And they aired through the Jim Henson Hour. And the dog, I think, showed up. It was like, I don't remember. I just read about this earlier today, where he was one other Jim Henson thing. I think it was just another random episode of the Jim Henson Hour, because the Jim Henson Hour was hosted by that lion, that weird white lion that was also in The Storyteller for the True Bride or whoever it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And in one of the episodes, the dog was there instead of the white lion, just being like, oh,
Yeah.
And then he was interviewed for like a magazine by Rolf, the dog from the Muppets.
From the Muppet Show.
From the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, we read about that this morning, that the original show was because Jim Henson's daughter.
Yeah, she was in university or something, and she was taking folk studies or something like that.
Folklore, yeah.
And then she kind of floated this idea by him, and the two of them came up with, I guess, the premise of the show.
Just to be like a half hour.
Yeah, staying true to the actual fable.
And they actually hired a historian to make sure that they were completely accurate.
Yeah.
And so you can see basically it's just the pre-Disney stories. Because all early Disney were just these stories, kind of manipulated into being fanciful Walt Disney flavored things.
Yeah. And not as
horrifying.
I guess, horrifying, real, because the troll always, falls to his fiery death.
And people die left and right, and there's really sad endings to things.
Yeah.
And
especially season 2, the Greek myth one, because every single Greek myth is a tragedy.
It's
right?
horrifying.
It's weird that they make that into a child's, show.
I wonder if it was like always conceived, like, because the Muppets were originally not for kids, right? They were just sort of like, they weren't for adults either. They weren't like, it wasn't like Happy Time Murders where they were fucking and swearing.
Yeah.
But they were never meant to. It was like Sesame Street was for kids, and then the Muppet Show was for adults that used like childish practices to tell hilarious stories. I wonder if the Storyteller was kind of conceived the same way, and maybe I just watched it way too young.
Yeah. Well, now that I think back on the Muppet Show, when they're doing, when Kermit the Frog hosted the Muppet Show, and then the show was about the backstage antics and whatnot.
The original like 70s Muppet Show.
Miss Piggy was a little fucking... She was just a floozy. She was hitting on everybody left, right, and center.
She always had a frog in her throat.
Yeah, she sure did. Not even a frog, but remember all the guest stars that would come on?
Oh, yeah, she was always
trying
trying
to
to...
Mac Daddy on them.
I remember she was trying to bang Mark Hamill when they were singing the Star Wars song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim Henson.
Did you know he came up with the Muppets when he was 18?
Oh, really?
Fucking Jim Henson.
Really?
Yeah. He was born in like 1936, and it was like 1955 was when the Muppets were invented. But they didn't get a show for another 20 years, the Muppet Show. Oh. But he was running around doing the Muppets and like his short experimental films and doing Muppet acts when he was like 18, 19
Yeah.
years old. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. And I guess you think of puppets and associate them with kids as opposed to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a few. You can go on YouTube and look up early, like, Jim Henson experimental films, and they are weird. They are really weird.
Fucking film students.
I imagine Jim Henson was probably on a lot of drugs when he was young.
He was born when, you said? In the 30s?
It was like 1936 or something.
36?
And so he would have been, I guess he would have been more like a beatnik in the 50s, a teenager in the 50s. The LSD didn't exist yet, so...
So he passed away in the 90s?
1990, which again, season 1 of The Storyteller he oversaw, and then season 2 he was... I think he died during its production, because he's still listed as executive producer.
Yeah.
But it was released in 1990, and he died in 1990.
Okay.
Which is the saddest thing ever. I read about his death this morning, and I was listening to the score for The Storyteller and reading about his death, and I nearly like burst into tears.
Oh, pumpkin.
Because it was just his description of he was feeling kind of odd, and then his estranged wife came to see him because he was coughing up blood, and he just said to her, "I think I'm gonna die today," and then he died that day from toxic shock syndrome from a lung infection.
Poor guy.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And just and again, go to YouTube and look up the music, the score for The Storyteller. Listen to that and read that article. And if you aren't moved, you're a monster.
But he was 60-ish when he died, I
think he was like
imagine.
56 or something.
56?
Well, he was 36, 46, 56, 66, 76, 86. Yeah, he was like 54, 55. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
It's quite young.
It was the end of an era, for sure.
Yeah, I remember
he was
being-
quite the storyteller.
I remember not
I was
being
shocked.
into Jim Henson stuff after I learned that he died. I just didn't want to. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was so broken by it because I was
Yeah.
like 8, and I was
Well,
like,
he was the Jim Henson Company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had his hands on everything.
Yeah.
He was our generation's Walt Disney, I would imagine.
yeah,
Because when Walt died, I think half the storytelling died, right?
far less anti-Semitic though.
True. Much nicer person overall.
He wasn't busting unions and hiring Nazis to host nature shows, unlike a certain Walt. Walt.
You know, I remember, now I'm only half remembering, so please bear with me, but I was watching one of these lovely ghost hunter type TV shows. And
The ghost of Jim Henson.
I don't know, I don't remember if it was Jim Henson, but it was in the building that the Jim Henson Company was founded in.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. I don't remember who the ghost was, though, now.
Even though it would be adorable, like an Exorcist type thing, but then the person like shakes and shimmies, and then Kermit's voice comes out of their mouth. Like,
Or
oh,
they-
hey guys.
Inhabit Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That would be adorable and hilarious and really sad at the same
I
time.
don't remember anything actually happening in the Ghost Hunters show. Like,
They
I don't
never
think...
do.
Yeah, they moved anything or anything like that, but I remember that they were in the building.
We were talking last night about one of the Ghost Hunter shows that accidentally uploaded an episode where they were walking around the corner and the guy opened the door too quickly, and they're like, "Oh, hey Jim, you opened the door too quickly. Do it again." And they came around the corner like, "Whoa, the door just opened." They're such horse shit.
But so much fun to watch.
So ridiculous. I want to talk about the episode that scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
The Soldier in Death. So
So it was based on a Russian
it was
folktale.
Russian, and it was basically a soldier comes back and he has 3 biscuits, and he gives a biscuit to a guy who trades his whistle, like
Yeah.
his ability to whistle.
And the guy whistled like shit before.
Yeah, before he
traded
actually was
it.
going,
Yeah.
and then he was afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was Muldoon from Jurassic Park. That was the soldier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And what's his line again? In Jurassic Park?
Oh, clever girl.
Yeah.
And then this one, if it's a sack, then get in it. Because then the second time he trades his biscuit for a pair of magic playing cards. And then the third guy he comes across, and he's like, "Well, it's my last biscuit, but I feel bad not giving you what I gave everyone else." And then he gets a magic sack from him. And so then he goes to a town that apparently is inhabited, there's a castle on the hill inhabited by devils. And he goes and plays cards with the devils all night, keeps winning. When the devils get angry, he says, this is my sack, get in it. And all the devils go into it.
It's like
and-
they're compelled to get into
the sack, yeah. And then he captures all the devils and says, "I'll let you go if you fuck off, but I'm keeping one of your feet." And so he becomes like Lord of the Castle, and then it jumps like 20 years in the future, where his son is dying. I think it's or his wife or his son. I don't remember which.
I think it was his wife.
His wife was
Yeah.
dying. And he called
Maybe
up...
it was his son.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
he was his son because
It
he
was,
says,
yeah.
my wife, this is my devil.
Yeah.
Because he calls up one of the devils back, and the devil gives him...
The foot devil.
The foot devil. He rips his foot off, which I still think to this day that they had another plan in mind of how he was going to summon his devil, and the foot of the puppet just came off.
Yeah.
And they thought that was awesome.
Maybe.
And just went with
Yeah.
it. Because his foot does just go off, and he seems so shocked by it, and then it cuts right away. But the devil gives him a glass that if you look through it, you can see death. And death's at the bottom of the foot of the bed, the person will live. And if he's at the head of the bed, then he's going to die. And that's the episode directed by Jim Henson, too. And death is the most terrifying fucking thing in the world.
It's not that terrifying.
It is terrifying. It's this horrifying little, like, it looks like a gelfling, but like an
What's
evil.
that?
That's from Dark Crystal.
Oh.
It looks like a hairless, bald, evil gelfling.
Okay.
And it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not pretty to look at by
No,
any means.
and he's
but-
just his shocked face, and I think the concept too, because what happens is, his king, like the guy's Muldoon's king, is sick.
Tsar,
The
yeah.
Tsar, and Death's at his head. So he does, like, the Tsar's been too good to me. I don't want him to die. So he gets Death in a sack. He traps him in his magic sack,
Well, he offers himself instead of the Tsar.
and then he captures him in a sack. That was his plan.
So he tricks Death.
And I think that fucked me up as a kid too, because then no one dies at that point. And so that was creepy. And then like just John Hurt telling you how like people longed for death, and the shot of all the old people just longing for death.
Yeah, and imagine like a 6-year-old watching this.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
It's weird.
It's very
a
creepy.
weird choice of content.
And that whole episode is fucked because then he lets Death go, but Death's so scared of him, he won't come back to him. So the soldiers left just wandering the earth, because then he even goes to hell to try to get into hell, and hell doesn't want him. So
Yeah, because it's the devils again.
'Cause the
They're
devils
like,
again.
nope, fuck off, dude.
and he demands like 100 souls to take to heaven as payment to get in, and
Yeah.
then he tries to trick one of the souls to call him into the sack once they get into heaven. But once you get into heaven, you forget everything, so he just is left wandering out the outskirts of the gates of heaven for all eternity. I think that conceptually messed me up as a kid.
Yeah. It is a fucked up story.
It's really fucked up.
I question why this would have been made for children.
That's why I wonder if it was, or if they were like old fairy tales were fucked up.
Yeah.
Kids need to, and it was the 80s, the whole dark
That's
80s.
true. Yeah.
The 80s is when Batman started murdering people.
Yeah.
So maybe that was all part and parcel of like, let's give kids darker, deeper stories.
Yeah.
But that episode scared the fuck out of me, and I honestly didn't remember any other episode really. So when I bought it in 2003, it was like watching it brand new again, and I honestly haven't watched it again since we sat down and just ripped through them all for this podcast.
Yeah. I enjoyed, which was the one, it was the Cinderella one, I think. No.
What was it?
The
What was
True
she-
Bride.
Oh, with the big white lion.
Yeah, with the
Lay
lion.
down and sleep, and
Yeah.
I'll drink the river dry.
That
Yeah.
is how I want to get shit done in life.
Just fall asleep.
Just have a troll tell me that this, that, and the other thing needs to get done, and then a giant lion comes out of nowhere, and he's like, dude, just take a nap. I got this shit for you.
On the downside, though, the troll did beat her with the contradiction stick.
Yeah.
Until
and
she was black and blue.
when they were talking about the contradiction stick, I read it was a Deadpool comic book, and he's a pirate in this comic book, and he has a teaching stick.
Do you think he kind of snagged that from Storyteller?
I don't know, but I enjoyed the contradiction stick as well as the teaching stick. I'm gonna get myself a stick.
And you have to beat people black and blue?
Yeah. I
Lord.
think I could do this.
Wait, so what do you think that, is there any other contemporary story that lines up to that one? To the True Bride or whatever she was called? I don't even remember. We should have had the episode titles written down before we started recording.
Yeah,
but
we should have.
It was the one with the big white lion from the Jim Henson Hour.
Yeah, and I don't think it lined up to anything Disney-ish that I could relate it to.
It was just Cinderella, and what else was there? There was Cinderella.
Yeah.
Who was called like Suit Shooper or something.
Yeah.
Shoot Shooper. She had a really weird name. And the Cinderella one was really weird because
Tales of incest.
Yeah,
and,
she was forced to marry her dad, so animals made her like a beast costume.
Yeah.
So she looked like Bigfoot.
So then she fled her kingdom.
And then this dickhead prince who's like, know your place, and is like kicking her around and smacking servants and things, is the hero prince.
Yeah, and that's who she falls in love with.
Yeah, and he never learns his lesson.
No.
Really?
No.
He just recognizes her, the
Yeah.
Bigfoot beast, as being the hot chick.
Yeah. Yeah. It is I question the morality behind
What was
some of
that?
these stories.
Was that German? Was that one German?
I think it might have been German.
Yeah?
Yeah. The majority were German. I think there was some other...
Because I think a lot of them were Grimm fairy tales.
Yeah.
But then again, Grimm fairy tales were collected fairy tales from all over.
Yeah.
So I guess they probably all show up in Grimm at some point.
And I feel like Cinderella was originally a French fairy tale. I could be completely wrong, but...
I have the... they just released a few years ago, and I snagged it, was the original translations of Grimm fairy tales.
Oh, yeah?
So they're super dark and twisted,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was reading a couple of them, and like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, these poor kids back then. Or maybe they need that. I don't know.
Well, it builds a sense of fear, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that keeps you in line more than thinking that there's going to be fucking death at the foot of your bed.
Maybe
or the head of your bed.
Like, usually religion is used for that, so maybe the Germans were like, fuck this God guy. We're just going to scare the shit out of kids.
Because I think back in the day, did the Germans actually have like a religion that were they Christian? I don't know.
I imagine, because they were like, I'm part German, so please don't at me. But they were fucking cavemen until Alexander conquered them and brought them civilization. So I don't know. I don't know what they were worshiping before Alexander, and then they would have gone to Greek gods, and then I don't know when Christianity kind of took them over, but it's there now.
Well, because at the height of the Roman Empire, I'm pretty sure the Germans were the Visigoths, right?
Yeah.
And there was Germanic tribes that would try and get in on the
savage
loot.
as fuck.
Yeah, the booty. But that reminds me of season 2 of The Storyteller.
Which is Greek myths, hosted by Dumbledore 2.
So Dumbledore 2 is in this giant labyrinth.
The labyrinth.
With the dog, the cute as fuck dog.
A dog whose breed didn't exist until the 1800s, by the way.
Okay.
And is now in ancient Greece. I don't think they thought...
He's also a puppet, though.
He's also a puppet.
So let's give him that.
And he talks like this!
But so this guy's just kind of walking around a labyrinth and he randomly finds shit and he puts it in a sack. So he was essentially just a looter.
Well, I think because the final episode felt like the first episode, so I don't know if they were intentionally like, oh, this is the last episode, so we need to explain how he got here. Or if they just flipped them for airing it, because they do that all the time with shows.
But
because
like
the final one, he's actually being chased by guards, being called like, criminal thief, and he tumbles into the labyrinth.
Right, yeah. But when they were doing the Odysseus one, he found his lyre. Liar. Because
remember the dog's like, liar? He's like, this is a liar. He's like, oh.
And then he like shoved it in his bag.
Yeah, he was just looting the place.
He was totally a looter. Well done, Jim Henson Company.
This is after Jim's dead.
Yeah.
And there's barely any puppets in season 2.
There's none. Absolutely none. Like Medusa's... hair snakes are puppets, and then that's it for the entire episode. Everyone else is
just in makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of lame how they really reeled in the puppets.
And I guess with the Greek myth, well, no, they have lots of monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess the Minotaur, whatever, was
he was, well, it's still, again,
puppet.
not a puppet. No, I don't think, other than the vulture that was, like, chirping at, oh my god.
The guy.
The father of Icarus's father.
Yeah. Starts with a D.
Let's call him Dickarus.
Okay. Dickarus and Icarus?
Icarus's father, Dickarus. Which, again, I didn't realize, too, until I saw the Greek myths. Because as a kid, I always had, like, a vague understanding of Greek myths. Like, oh, don't fly too close to the sun, Icarus. And that's pretty much all a lot of people know.
Okay.
And when you hear the actual story, like, oh, he was, like, a kid? And his father killed his, like, cousin and then wanted to escape an island. And the kid was, like, half retarded.
Yeah, he was, like, 100 kinds of retarded.
Right? And then he flies too close to the sun. Like, yeah, is that... Now I got to research to see how close the Greek myth ones were. Because I know the fairy tale ones are super close to the originals, but I don't know about the Greek myth ones.
No, I was always confused by Greek myth, and I think you mentioned this as well, just because there was always so many names.
They all sound exactly the same.
So much lineage as well.
Yeah.
Son of this king and that king, and...
Yeah, I noticed a few times during the episodes where they'd be like, Dickarus and Flickerus and Pooperus and Mopplerus, all called King Vavorus. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Everyone ends with an
like
is.
Game of Thrones almost.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep everybody in check.
You need a little notebook writing down who's who.
Yeah.
And,
But it was interesting that the first episode of season 2 was Icarus and Dickarus.
Icarus and Dickarus.
So Dickarus actually made up the labyrinth that held the Minotaur. And then the last episode of season 2 was kind of the death of the Minotaur, right?
So I wonder if they flipped those because they wanted to explain what the labyrinth was right off the bat.
Makes sense.
Instead, because I don't know if in that final episode, I guess they do talk about the labyrinth, but you don't know any history or anything to it.
No. And you don't really know how. So, spoiler alert. This
is like 40-year-old show.
The king of Crete. I don't remember what his name was, but
Creterus.
his son, Creterus, the king of Crete's son was actually the Minotaur.
Yeah. And we don't know why.
Yeah, we don't know how that happened.
If the king like fucked a bull or something, we don't know, which is completely plausible.
We should have just paid attention to when we were kids and people are actually telling us these stories.
In history
this
classes.
would have helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my cousin actually knows a lot of Greek history, so we could actually do like a call a friend thing
And see
to bail
and say,
ourselves out here.
Hey,
to
we
say,
need some help right now.
Yeah.
No. I think appearing completely oblivious to facts is part of Space Action Podcast.
That's how you do this shit.
That's how
right?
we roll.
Yeah.
Like, who's that guy? I don't know. Whatever. But there's a new Storyteller coming out. They've announced because Netflix apparently is now getting into. I don't think Disney got this stuff. I imagine because Netflix is now making a new Labyrinth series that's been announced. They're making the Dark Crystal series, and they've announced Neil Gaiman's The Storyteller series. I imagine that if Disney had their hands in this chapter of because Henson had like 8 different companies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Disney just bought the Muppets. And so, like, Jim Henson's Creature Shop, I don't think is Disney.
Is maybe not part of it.
Not part of it.
Interesting.
But I don't know about because Neil on the DVD for season 2 there was a trailer for a Neil Gaiman Jim Henson thing. What was it called? It was like
magic something, magic black.
It was mirror magic, magic face
All I can
mirror.
think of is dance magic dance.
Dance. But that trailer looked horrible, and I actually remember when it came out, and I may have watched it and completely forgotten what it is. So Neil Gaiman is hit or miss, so I don't know how good it's going to be with him running the show. I hope it's great.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I wonder if it's going to be oddly creepy children's
But in
content.
2019, what are they going to be able to get away with?
Oh, I guess that's true. That shit that we grew up on, it wouldn't pass these days, would it?
What we watched today in the Storyteller was like, this would never make it on television in 2019.
All of the moms I know, there's no way they'd let their kids watch that shit.
And if it's not like,
Excuse me.
if it's not horrifying, it's not the Storyteller.
I guess that, they go hand in hand. I think it's Jim Henson and,
Jim Henson had a dark streak. I wonder when he's going to get, like, Me Too'd.
Oh, he's not going to get Me Too.
He has too much, like, when you look at his stuff, it's too fucking dark for him not to have a twisted side.
You think so?
I don't know.
No.
I'm spitballing here. But he's a dark motherfucker. like isn't Labyrinth all about a baby being stolen by a goblin king that wants to like suck his blood or something?
Well, I think he steals the kid so that the sister will come and he can marry the sister.
Because he wants to have sex with an underage girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Bowie. Basically, the description for Labyrinth is David Bowie wants to fuck a 15-year-old. So that's I don't know. I think.
But he's the Goblin King, and he's fucking hot in that movie, yo.
Any 15-year-old would have fucked David Bowie the year that came out. But I don't know. I think
eyeliner on one eye.
I think Jim Henson's got some skeletons in his closet, and
I
think they're Muppet skeletons, and I think they probably sing and dance. But
don't say that, because some rando's gonna start talking shit about Jim Henson now. He's the last true blue.
Yeah. Oh, I guess there's Mr. Rogers. He's still okay.
Is he still okay? No, something happened with Mr. Rogers.
No, there was someone else who was it? I saw this on Twitter, and it made me really laugh of how sad people are. Because Mr. Rogers has the movie with Tom Hanks, and then some rando tweeted like, I don't remember the child's entertainer. I honestly don't. It was one of those silly pants, whatever. All these fucking children's entertainers, and some just random woman tweeted like, don't ever make like a rose-colored glasses documentary about such and such. He treated me and my son horribly once. Told me to fuck off to my face. And then that started trending, and everyone started like, no one else had any stories. like that.
course, yeah.
So this person probably is just a shitty person, and since children's entertainers are human, they probably was having a bad day. I was like, dude, lady, fuck off.
Yeah.
And now his name is being dragged through the mud because of it, because
God.
hey, she got a lot of likes.
Yeah.
She had her 5 minutes of fame on Twitter.
Thank God for the fucking internet. That's all I can say.
Remember when it was designed by scientists to share information instantly across the world? And now it's used to fuel outrage.
Well, that's progress for you.
That's progress. We went down a rabbit hole on the internet. We should get out of it before we tumble too deeply.
Really quickly.
Yeah, because I was just about to start going off about like children labor and iPhones and shit.
No. Yeah.
That's why people are angry at everything.
Not that kind of podcast.
Well, hey, we have to keep it nice and dark, right? It's the Jim Henson Storyteller.
It's the theme. Yeah. You
got to keep it really creepy and weird and kind of sad. Oh, the other episode that Jim Henson directed was the one about the giant with a wasp nest for a heart.
Oh, yeah.
Which again was really sad.
What was that one called?
God, we should have brought it down with us.
Damn.
If you're listening to this podcast, please have a second window open with Wikipedia on Jim Henson's The Storyteller. It was the final episode, I think, wasn't it? So he directed The Soldier in Death, which was like, and again, the orders,
in the middle.
The order's always different. If you go on Wikipedia, the order of episodes is different than like the original airing episodes and the episodes on the DVD. They're all different ordered.
Yeah.
So the first season, that's fine because they're all standalone, but the second season, I think we noticed it because of the story.
Just because of that beginning little bit.
Falling in a labyrinth.
Yeah.
Because in the first episode, there was like, why is he in the labyrinth?
Yeah.
Why is he walking around?
So many questions.
Yeah. Why is it another 2,000 years before that dog is invented? But that one was fucked up too because it was about a little kid who trusted a giant who was encaged in a prince, and is caged up in his father's castle's dungeon.
Yep.
And he trusts him because he feels sorry for him, but the giant has no heart because it's a wasp's nest. And he breaks out and starts murdering everyone and takes off. And so this little princeling's older brothers go one by one to try and kill the giant and just never come back. And so then he goes, and like all fairy tales, along his adventure, he gets exactly what he needs to complete his adventure. He saves a fish.
Yep.
A bird was stepped on and had his wing broken. And then he let a wolf eat his dead horse, which is pretty messed up.
Yeah, and he has animal friends for the rest of his journey.
Because the wolf lets him ride him, which is adorable, seeing this like full-size person on a tiny little wolf puppet.
And then the bird and the fish help him find
because
heart
he finds
of
the giant and he starts trying to trick him to find out where his heart is.
Yeah.
Because the little kid's plan is to give the giant back his heart because he knows once the giant has his heart again,
he won't be a dick.
He won't be a dick anymore.
Yeah.
And so all his animal friends help him get the heart. He gets back and the giant says, just give me my heart and I'll turn your friend... Oh, yeah, because his brothers were turned to stone by the giant.
Yeah.
And he says, I'll turn your brothers back. And as soon as his brothers turn back into people, they grab the heart and just squish it because it's an egg.
It is, yeah.
And he squishes it and the giant just dies at the end. And you're like, Jesus!
Yeah.
And then the dog's like, that's so sad. He would have been good after that.
He could have performed.
Yeah. That dog really makes me want that breed of dog.
Yeah.
I'm not a dog person, and I want that dog.
And the dog's name on the show was purely dog.
It was dog.
Yeah.
I want a female dog because I think male dogs are dicks, literally and figuratively. And it's the testosterone, man. I don't like them.
Nah, man. Male dogs are great.
I like male cats and female dogs, I think, are the way to go.
So sexist.
Yeah, no, because lady dogs are not aggressive, testosterone-filled assholes, and boy cats don't have the shitty competition that felines have, because in nature there's usually one male and a pride of females, so they compete with each other more.
I'm pretty sure everybody's eye-rolling you right now.
No.
Everybody listening to
No,
this.
I think everyone's going like, yeah, male cats are awesome. Female cats are bitches. Female dogs are awesome. Male dogs are jerks.
Well, I have a male dog and a female cat.
Yeah, and I
love them both
how many
very
times has
dearly.
he bit you?
It's dude.
Sam's dog is 308 years old, blind and deaf. But when he was younger, he was an angry, angry little boy.
He was a little tyrant. Yeah.
He was an angry little dog.
He grew up in rough circumstances, though.
He was
and
an
that's no
abused dog.
excuse. Yeah, but, you know.
Not by you.
He's got a backstory.
You got him out of the abuse.
Yeah.
And so he was a little fucked up from it.
Yeah. He was a lot fucked up.
Yeah.
But You know what? We had a good 18 years
18 years.
thus far.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's stinky.
He keeps me on my toes. And he's got raging diarrhea every time you turn around.
Oh, this went from dark to just disgusting.
Back to Jim Henson.
All the comments will be like, just put him down.
He's not done yet, guys.
He's still good. He
Still walks for like an hour a day.
Did you ever watch Dark Crystal?
I watched little bits and pieces of it, but I did not watch it from end to end that I can recall, because I don't remember the storyline whatsoever, and I think you got me to watch a couple of YouTube clips of it.
Well, yeah, because
I didn't remember it.
As a kid, I didn't like it. I didn't
Yeah?
get it. I couldn't make that connection to puppets, aside from comedy. Like right. As soon as they went dramatic, I my eyes glazed over as a kid.
And I think as a kid, the only thing that appealed to me that was Jim Henson was the Muppet Show. Kermit the Frog.
Yeah,
and
because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then as an adult, I went back and I hated Labyrinth as a kid. I
loved
I didn't
Labyrinth.
get it,
Yeah.
and now I know why. By watching the Labyrinth trailer, I didn't realize George Lucas was a big part of Labyrinth. I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. Because I went back and rewatched them both, and I was like, Dark Crystal is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I love the Dark Crystal. I still hate Labyrinth. I really do. And I think it's George Lucas. I think his stink is like dude's breath. It's just, it's omnipresent and ruins everything it touches.
See, and I know that George Lucas wise, we've all got,
We all got our
own
issues.
kind of thing. But I saw Ewoks when I was a kid, and I fucking loved it.
Oh, Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, and the Ewoks are very reminiscent, I think, of the puppet characters you see in the Labyrinth.
And all the
So it's kinda-
boglins or whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah, just everything in the Labyrinth, right?
I think I accidentally referenced an 80s toy, boglins. Weren't they like those rubber evil face things with the two arms and the tail, and you stuck your hand up and made their mouth move? I think those are called boglins.
I didn't know they had a name.
Anyways. Yeah. Even as a kid, I remember not liking the Ewoks. As a kid, I really would always fast forward to just Luke and Vader fighting at the end.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of what I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Then I think probably because I watched things like The Storyteller and Stanley Kubrick movies too young.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just-
You're not a good representation of kids.
no, it messed me the hell
You
up.
were like, you're a 90-year-old man now
Yeah.
in a 30-some-odd guy's
When I was
body,
like 10, I was having existential crises about how, like, well, if there's nothing after death, that's terrifying, but if there's something that goes on forever, that's equally terrifying. There's no good solution here.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jim Henson. Thank you for doing that. But
Yeah.
no, I to go back to what I said at the very beginning of the podcast, I totally was off of Jim Henson after he died.
Yeah.
It was like someone punched me in the heart when I heard Jim Henson died as a little kid, and I was like, I just go to watch the Fraggles or something. I was like, I don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
I was going through.
Oh, pumpkin.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was like grief or something. I was like, I don't want to anymore. I don't want
It's
to
not
watch
the
it.
same anymore.
Yeah, and didn't they do an episode of something where they talked about death, and then like
Yeah, I think Kermit did that.
Kermit came out at
Yeah.
the very, very end, and it was Brian Henson. It was like, oh, you sound weird, and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah. It was a really sad day, and I don't know where I was when I found out.
It's not
by
like
any
9/11.
means. No, but I can still remember just that sense of loss.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was really just from the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
Because I
And
didn't
Fraggle
know
Rock.
his plethora of stuff.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with at all.
I was obsessed with Fraggle Rock
Oh yeah,
as a little kid.
Yeah.
I really liked the. I think that's what made me such a slacker. So I was always like, those loser dozers, go take their little weird crystal sticks and eat them, boys. It's all about dancing the days away.
Thanks, Jim Henson. That was well done. Well done.
Dance your cares away, I should say. Like, look at those losers working their cares away.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. You made a whole generation of slackers.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome. We get that Ghost Hunter show to see if we can get him to say you're welcome.
Get a seance going to see if we can channel Jim Henson.
Can you imagine? Like that is that? I've got to find out if that's real, because that seems in such horrible taste to do a Ghost Hunter show looking for Jim Henson.
Agreed.
Yeah. Was Frank Oz there doing the piggy voice, waiting to hear like, oh hey yo, in the background? It's horrifying.
But that seance is not happening at my house. That can happen at your house.
Oh, come on. You got like a poon job on your house.
A puja.
Yeah.
Punjab.
They both sound equally hilarious.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
you're dating a brown chick. You need to learn the words at this point, all right?
Whatever. Poo-job?
Yes, there you go.
Alright, fine. Well, you got a poop job on your house, so...
Pujas wear off after so many years.
How can that wear off?
Dude, this is what the priest tells me, okay?
I question that any religion where it's like, okay, this blessing wears off after a while.
Yeah, no, it's just like a good luck thing. Because I think my family specifically, we're not very religious. We're a lot more superstitious. And everybody listening to this, judge me as you will. But we do things because bad things may or may not happen if you don't do these things, right?
Allow me. Send her back. Send her back. Sorry.
I got a Canada card, yo.
Yeah, I'm not religious either. And I don't believe in luck. Yeah. Like curses and things. I just can't get behind it. I think we were at my brother's the other night, last night.
Yeah.
And talking about the terror. So the ship searching for the Northwest Passage, and apparently there's a book about the what if happened to it. And I think that's a perfect microcosm for superstition and reality. I mentioned it last night. Of the what if book is like, okay, these guys are looking for the Northwest Passage, and then they saw like an Inuit man and killed him, and then it unleashed the spirit of a Wendigo who hunted them down one by one, and then the truth ended up being they died from lead poisoning. I think that's a perfect microcosm.
Well, 2 for sure died of lead poisoning. The other ones we're not sure.
They all disappeared.
They all disappeared, but we only know that 2 for sure died of lead poisoning. And it was because they had moved from taking preserved food to canning food.
Canning food with lead seals.
Yeah, and the soldering on the tin can was lead. And so the lead just leached into their beef and gravy or whatever the hell it was they were eating.
Everything ends up being boring. Everything ends up being boring. The looking up in the sky and going, God is punishing you for staring into his face by blinding you, and if you stay in the presence of God too long, you'll die of exposure to God. Oh no, it's the sun.
Yeah.
It's a ball of hydrogen.
SPF.
Yeah. So it's objectively, even though like it's both objectively like amazing and boring at the same time, because we make it way too fascinating, and then you're like, a ball of hydrogen burning in space is incredibly fascinating. But compared to the stories we made up, it's super boring.
Well, and I guess when you explain anything and you understand the way it works, the mystery is gone. Yeah. And it's,
like, oh, that's it? That's why I think the meaning of life is going to make... If anyone ever discovers the meaning of life, the response is going to be, what, really? Oh. That's it? We're a bacteria growing on a super giant dog's butt?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's objectively fascinating, but come on, kind of boring compared to what we came up with.
When I was a kid, I remember we would be sitting in traffic, and I would always just hope that the giant whose play table we were sitting on would just pick up our car and move us to
just
the
get
destination.
out of traffic?
Yeah. So I always thought that we were the playthings of a giant. There was a giant somewhere.
I'd like to think that. Oh wait, what was the fun? Actually, I don't want to give that away because I want to turn that into a story someday. So I'm not gonna go down that. I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to give it away and then some douchebags listening to the podcast and then, hey, I'm gonna take that, just run with it. But
hey, that giant story is copyright. Should I say that? I'll share the story though for enough money.
I was just always hoping there was Jim Henson's hand was up my ass.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that so going back to the Storyteller, which is what we're supposed to be talking about, I guess.
If we're going to avoid copyright infringement for using the theme, we got to fucking talk about it for the majority of the podcast. I learned that the hard way.
Just the puppetry, right? I'm just thinking of the dog. So you always saw the dog, and he was sitting on a stone floor, and he was rolling around and all this fun stuff. And obviously it was just how they were holding the camera that you couldn't see the guy's hand.
Oh yeah,
doing
they
all
would
the
build a
facial
false
expressions.
floor, and it was actually Brian Henson operating him
Oh yeah,
under
yeah.
the false floor. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They should go back to making movies like that.
No, yeah. When the lion showed up, I remember I said to you, I was like, that should have been the live action Lion King movie. Because who gives, like, honestly, fuck that movie. A bunch of expressionless lions walking around recreating shot for shot one of the most colorful, expressive
Yeah.
animated films
Agreed.
ever.
Yeah.
How cool would it have been if they'd used, like, 21st century technology puppets?
Yeah.
It would have looked amazing.
Yeah.
Like the Vogons in The Hitchhiker's Guide, I think, was the last big Jim Henson undertaking. I guess now until Dark Crystal series coming out.
Remake, yeah.
The remake. And they looked like there were times where you're like, is it just real? Because there's no uncanny valley. There's no bullshit CGI that's making me think it's animated.
Yeah.
It just looks
It just
real.
blends into the story.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That would be amazing. Can you imagine if like a Jim Henson's The Lion King would be the greatest thing ever?
It would. It totally would.
That would have been really, and that would have justified a remake too, because you're doing something completely new and different with the material.
Yeah. And I mean, they did the stage production of The Lion King, right? So you think they'd be open to that kind of thing.
I think the stage was just a lot of people in outfits and
it
like
totally was.
things on sticks and things, right?
But people, I didn't see it, but
And,
people
yeah.
said so many good things about it, that it was fantastic, and the
Oh, wait.
costumes were great.
Speaking of plays and movies, did you see the trailer for Cats?
No, I did not.
It is anyone listening right now. If you haven't seen the trailer for the live action Cats that premiered at Comic-Con, go Google it and watch it. It is unadulterated nightmare fuel.
Oh, really?
It is.
I guess it's a bunch of people dressed up as cats.
No,
yeah.
it's 100% animated, but it's motion capture, 1-to-1 to the actors' real life computer animation, like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, or like the apes from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But it's just their faces. So it's like Judi Dench looking like she's wearing tights in a cat outfit, but then you look and you're like, oh no, it's a CGI Judi Dench's face made to look like the cat outfit is just her skin. So they do look like little people.
Can I ask, what's the point of this?
Honestly, I think it's a demo reel for this technology because it's a new form of motion capture. So I kind of feel like some
Why not just wear the fucking suit?
I don't get it at all either. If you're going to animate it, make them cats.
Yeah.
So if you're just making them humans in cat suits but animated, I honestly do think it's a giant 2-hour demo reel. They were like, okay, we have this new technology, and we're going to get the rights to cats, and we're going to
And let's
use
just
that
waste a bunch of money.
Yeah, it's going to be a name recognition vehicle to show off this tech in order to get other companies on board.
Wow.
I kind of is what it feels like to me. I don't know.
Who's making the movie?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea. But James Corden is in it, so I will never see it. Because James Corden is like a thorn in my eyeball. I can't stand him so much.
Why is this?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's just one of those things, but there's something about him that irritates the fuck out of me.
Okay.
And I was so happy to find out that people, like English people, are like, oh, please take James Corden. We hate him. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, because I hate him as well. And he has like 50 million views singing karaoke in a car with some fucking celebrity.
Okay.
And it infuriates me because he's just the worst.
He likes to sing in cars.
He's so irritating. I can't
I
stand
haven't
him.
watched him enough
just-
to be able to comment.
Again, it's nothing he does. It's not like he's out killing puppies or voting for Trump or something. It's just that his personality is like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Oh, okay.
I can't stand him.
I kind of get that way when I have to look at Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell?
Yeah, he kind of makes, so I have this this vein in my forehead, and when I get irritated, like aggravated, you know my vein.
Can we start calling that the Ferrell?
The Ferrell? Well, it's kind of the Carson too, I'm not gonna lie.
It's mostly the Carson, but it's also the Ferrell. I like Anchorman and Step Brothers, that's it.
I didn't have the patience for Step Brothers. I did enjoy Anchorman, but there was a lot of other things going on. It wasn't just the Will Ferrell show.
Yeah, I never liked him on SNL. I always would get, I would like, because I stopped watching SNL a long time ago,
Yeah.
but he was on at the point when I was still watching it, and I would always be like, oh, gonna go make a sandwich or something during this
I
sketch.
essentially stopped laughing when I was watching Saturday Night Live. It just kind of turned into just something on in the background.
It's like The Simpsons. It's been just crap for so long
Yeah,
that it's like, why,
yeah.
like I don't know what your legacy is going to be in 100 years.
I don't know what it's like now, because honestly, I just haven't gone back to watch it.
A friend of ours, Barry, he sends Snapchats of almost the entire fucking episode every week. And every time I'm like, ugh, and I'll watch like 2, and they're just irritating me, and then I just skip the rest because it's so bad.
But Barry's just, he's committed to the show now.
He's committed. I guess
it's like the final season of Game of Thrones. You have to watch it now,
even though there's no end in sight for Saturday Night Live.
You know you're not going to be fucking satisfied.
You're just stuck.
Yeah.
I think the only reason that I like, because Anchorman is just such a weird beast. It's such...
It is.
Bizarro comedy that I just appreciate. And I remember it was back in school when it came out. I was in school and we were like high as shit going to see the movie, and that we were just burst. Like, I remember my jaw being in pain of laughing at it. So marijuana helps. It's legal in Canada now, so marijuana definitely helps with Anchorman. In terms of Step Brothers, I think that's the only vehicle he's ever done where his adult man-child comedy works.
Okay.
Because it's literally about 2 man-children and unable to like grow up, to mentally progress beyond like 12. So he always plays that stupid man-child character.
He does,
and I think the only time it ever worked was Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, it's funny. And John C. Reilly is amazing.
So John C. Reilly is like some kind of crazy theatrical actor, right?
He's awesome.
Yeah. What was I watching? And he actually had like a real role in it. Like he was...
That's I think he only really does the comedy with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
And then weirdly enough, the King Kong movie. He'll every once in a while dip into comedy.
Okay.
But I think
he's like a dramatic actor.
He's a professionally trained dramatic actor, yeah. I think one of his first big roles, if I had IMDb up, but the first role I know him from is Boogie Nights. And he's awesome in Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
But he was in what was he in? Laurel and Hardy movie? I
never saw that.
That with Steve Coogan. It just came out. I didn't see it. It looked like the kind of movie your grandma will see on TNT in the afternoon and be like, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. But I don't know. It might be Stan. What was Laurel and Hardy's first name? Stan something, and it was Stan and Ollie. That's what the movie was called.
Oh, okay.
And he was in something else too. None of this has anything to do with Storyteller.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah, Jim Henson's a storyteller. So there's a new Storyteller coming out. I imagine that there's going to be Storyteller retrospectives and YouTube videos aplenty soon because the new series is coming out. Honestly, we looked into it because we were like, we want a little bit of information about the Storyteller to actually have some facts to talk about. There's nothing out there. And I imagine, we're not in a position to be calling up the creators of the Storyteller game behind the scenes info.
Yeah.
And the internet offers very little in the ways of, we don't know why Michael Gambon was the Storyteller in season 2 and John Hurt left.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
There was 3 years between seasons because 87 was season 1 and 90 was season 2. And Jim Henson had died. And it was a whole...
and season 2 was 4 episodes.
It was only 4 episodes because it was on the BBC, so they do smaller seasons.
I see. Okay.
So I think the Storyteller actually was 2 seasons. I think it was 4 and 5. 4 episodes and 5 episodes.
Oh, for what we know as season 1?
What we know as just the Storyteller.
Okay.
Because when you buy it, it's called the complete series.
Oh,
and it's
I
9
see.
episodes.
Okay.
And then it's a completely different beast is season 2. Mm-hmm. But we don't know why he was replaced. Why John Hurt was replaced. We don't know why the original creator only was an executive producer on the second series, on the Greek Myth series. We don't know this, and the internet won't answer our questions. So we kind of had to come into the podcast blind and hope that in the next few months or years until the Neil Gaiman episode or series comes out, I'm sure all these questions will be answered.
When is it coming out? Do you know?
They've just announced it.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they've put any dates on it yet.
Okay.
And more professional YouTubers can go down the rabbit hole of calling people to interview and find out exactly what happened, and then we'll do a follow-up podcast.
I do hope that they stick to what I saw in season 1 with the storytelling as well as the puppeteering and
more puppets. The less
more
puppets
for
then
sure.
Why is it Jim Henson's a storyteller? If you I honestly thinking about it, I think it was just the birds and the fish from the Icarus episode, or not the Icarus episode, the Icarus episode, the vultures.
The vultures.
I think it was
there was no fish.
There was no fish. I was thinking back to the season 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think just the vultures were full puppets.
Yeah.
Everything else was people with
Medusa's head was kind of cool because
still
it was
an actor,
a person.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, but the hair, the snakes in the hair were totally free flowing kind of.
But I don't know.
That was kind of cool.
I don't think that counts as a puppet, though.
No, I agree with you.
Or is it Jim Henson Muppet? I guess Muppets are not puppets, because he makes the distinction of Muppets are like Kermit and the Gang, and then creatures. Like the dog is not a Muppet, he's a creature.
He's a creature,
Jim
right.
Henson creature.
Yeah.
So there are no creatures in season 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And
weird.
I found season 2 to be a little more gray and just meh.
It was very depressing.
I watched it because it was season 2.
Yeah.
That was it.
I guess there's no real way to avoid being horribly depressing when making Greek mythology.
True. But the same was kind of true for the first season.
Yeah.
But again, really good storytelling.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy it because a lot of the stories I'd never heard before, and just finding those little nuggets in like the Cinderella and the Beauty and the Beast one, which forgive us, we have no idea what the episode titles were.
Yeah.
But
We'll call it just Cinderella.
Yeah.
And Beauty and the Beast, he was a hedgehog, right? Or was that Hans the Hedgehog?
Hans the Hedgehog.
Yeah, and then she kept throwing she threw his hedgehog fur into the fire, and he freaked out. That was horrifying.
It was.
There were so many horrifying things in it.
Anyways,
thank you guys for listening. DC and I will be back to do Stranger Things. We promised you guys Stranger Things a while ago. We'll get to that eventually. I'm not sure what's coming up next, because as I said, DC's on vacation. But thanks for being the special guest star this week, Sam.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome. You now owe me favors of the dirty variety because I let you on the show. There's a casting couch process to Space Action Podcast. So we'll be back at some point, guys. And so thank you for listening. And everything we do can be found at spaceactionheroes.com. So please check that out, and liking this video would be great, and sharing this video would be great, and subscribing to this stuff, it would be better, and subscribing to things would be great. And other than that, we will see you in the future. Say goodnight, Sam.
Good night, Sam.
When people told themselves their past with stories, explained their present with stories, foretold the future with stories, the best place by the fire was kept for the story.